my dad was watering his plants, and as the time went by, he kind of realized like, yo, I'm watering, like, these are weed plants. My dad's like asking for a raise. Hey, you can't do a raise. So one day he pops up at the house. He gives my dad in a bag, it's a package. He's like, here's your package. And my dad's like, okay. My dad takes it in. My mom opens it in the afternoon. She's like, what the hell is this? It was a kilo of Coke. Return that. We're not like that. We don't do that. So the guy Mike goes, to be honest, I will not take this back. Once you give something, it's yours. My mom tells me the next day, oh, your dad's detained. Time passes by. My dad gets out of jail. He's out. We did the bail. Dad cuts a brace at like 3 a.m.
So essentially, your father's on the run.
A week later, almost like less than 10 days later, we get a letter in the mail. So I'm 17 at the time. My mind isn't at, I'm about to get deported.
From living with a deportation order hanging over his family to building a thriving business from the ground up. All he had was $250 and a lot of ambition, turning adversity into opportunity. Please welcome our next guest, Jorge. Peace and power, fam. How you doing?
How you doing? What's going on?
Yeah, man. Thank you for, coming through. We really appreciate your time. I know you're a very productive person. So let's talk about the deportation order. You dealing with some family struggles, and you were living in this country by yourself since the age of 17. Tell us about that.
All right. So I came here to the U.S. when it was 1999, before 9/11, right? And we came with my mom, my dad, and my little brother. We stayed here we came with a visa. We stayed here 8 months. And then after the 8 months, we were supposed to go back the 6th month, right?
From where?
Back from Chile. So we were supposed to go back, but we ended up staying. So my mom and my dad, we were trying to find a solution to what can we do. So we were like, you know what? We're better off here illegal than over there legal, right?
Right.
So my mom got married for papers, and it didn't go well because it was all fake. But since my name was there, my little brother's name was there, we all got in trouble for it. So my dad at the time, he didn't have a lot of money. Christmas time was coming by, and my dad wanted to give us a better life, a better opportunity, and he wanted to always give us a Christmas gift. And there was no money because we lived in a little studio apartment. In the little studio apartment, there was two beds, and me and my little brother shared a bed. My mom and dad slept in another bed. So my dad was a construction worker. He always worked in construction. My dad ended up becoming good friends with some guy who had a lot of money, right? And my dad was pretty much his like it's like his sidekick, or his handyman, right? You could say his handyman. So he would water. He would do his construction work that he needed, any handy jobs, any handy duties, and then he would also water his plants, right? So at the time we're talking, this is the year 2000, right? My dad was watering his plants, and as the time went by, he kind of realized like, yo, I'm watering, like, these are weed plants. These are all weed plants, right? And my dad had no idea there were weed plants because, to be honest, in my country, you don't really see that a lot. Weed is not really popular over there. So time went by, and my dad's like asking for a raise. Hey, you can't do a raise. So one day he pops up at the house, all right? He pops up at the house. It's closer to Christmas time. And he gives my dad in a bag, it's a package. He's like, here's your package. And my dad's like, okay. My dad takes it in. My mom opens it in the afternoon. She's like, what the hell is this? It was a kilo of Coke. Wow. Yeah, it was a kilo of Coke. So then my dad goes, my mom flipped. My mom's like, oh, what is this? What is this? And then my dad goes, I don't know. The guy's name is Mike. Mike gave it to me. And my dad goes, I don't know what to do with it, or what should we do with it? And my mom flips, return that. We're not like that. We don't do that. So then my dad calls Mike back and said, Mike, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know I asked you for a raise, and I asked you for this is like my dad's 1 year with him, loyalty with him, always being there. I guess he felt bad. So the guy Mike goes, to be honest, I will not take this back. Once you give something, it's yours, And then my dad goes, oh, but my dad's worried. But the guy Mike goes, listen, if you want, take a trip with me. I'm actually selling a couple of these. I'll sell yours and I'll cut you your profit, just so you could see what it feels like to make some money. So my dad goes with him that night. That night he goes, the guy was set up. The guy Mike was set up. The whole trip was set up, what? But not with my dad. With Mike was set up. So it wasn't like he was trying to test to see if my dad was, if my dad was down with it or whatnot. Mike was set up. So ends up probably like at 2 a.m. My dad, we get a call. My mom tells me the next day, oh, your dad's detained, right? So remember, my dad's illegal, right? So fast forward in time, visiting my dad, seeing my dad in jail, seeing him in jail. He was there for like 6 months. Went to court. There's a lot of sadness that builds up in your heart when you're in that environment and you see that. So fast forward, my mom, he had bail his bail was like 10 grand. Right, but we barely had $500, right? So my mom started going to church a lot, right? A lot of church, Christian church. Christian church would always, they would help her out. They would do empanada stands or fundraisers, little events. We sold every item in the house possible. My mom did, to try to come up with the 10 grand, right? So like legit, the house was just a fridge and a bed. There was no couch no more. You know what I mean? Like everything sold. TVs were gone. Like everything was gone, right? And miraculously, my mom she was able to save the 10 grand. All right, I don't know how she did it because she wasn't even working. You know what I mean? But she got the 10 grand. So we were behind on rent, probably like 4 or 5 months, right? Since my dad got locked up, we were behind. And then during that whole time period, you would get I guess it was FBI or they would pop out the house, raided the whole house to make sure there was nothing else. Then I felt bad for my mom at the time, and I wanted to help her.
How old were you?
I was in middle school.
Okay.
So I was middle school, what, like 11? 11?
13?
Yeah, I was probably like 11, 12. Yeah, 11 or 12. And my neighbor was this older lady, and she had like big yard, right? Because it was the apartment was set up. It was apartment, and then next door, big house, right? And then I started asking her, hey, I didn't remember her name, but I was like, hey, I'll cut your grass. So I would cut her grass for her with her lawnmower, and she would give me $30. So every time I would get $30, I would cut her grass every 2 weeks. I would give it to my mom. Give it to my mom just so she has some. I would just say, hey, Mom, I got you some money. It wasn't a lot, but it was just things that I remember doing. I would also collect Pokemon cards at the time. So my Pokemon cards, I would sell them. That block, it was all kids. And I would sell them any Pokemon card. Oh, I got like $5, $10, $2. So I was selling Pokemon cards. Back to the story with my dad being locked up. We had a guy, one random guy came by the house when he knocks at the door, and he comes up and he goes, hey, listen, Mike sent me here. Tell your husband if he ever says anything that does not involve being quiet, we will come back. And he just pops up his shirt and shows a piece, right? So we told my dad that, over there. So my dad keeps his mouth shut, keeps quiet. Mike is an American citizen. My dad isn't. My dad is an illegal immigrant. So time passes by. My dad gets out of jail. He's out. We did the bail. My dad starts working again, construction. He starts doing construction outside, like union work. But the problem is that he has the band on the foot, right?
Ankle bracelet.
Yep. So it's very like constricted on how much time he's really allowed out and how much time he's allowed in.
And how far he can go.
Exactly. So he wasn't able to get any money, make any money. He was doing 4 hours, they let him outside, and he can't get a job around that area. So he's working at one spot for 3 hours, 3 hours making barely making ends meet, you could say. So we had a white Jeep, and I remember clear as day. My dad goes, listen, we got to get the hell out of here. We're not going to survive. So one day my dad decides, all right, let's do it. They gather everything up. My dad cuts the brace at like 3 a.m. I remember waking up. I was a kid. I didn't really know much. I have a little brother. I remember my dad cutting the brace, and then I remember like, all right, George, get everything in the car. Let's come with us. So then Jorge, they used to call me, but we went in the car, we left, and we went from Florida to Jersey. So we traveled all the way to Jersey. We get to Jersey.
So essentially, your father's on the run.
Yeah. Father's gone. We leave. We land in Jersey, and I had a couple relatives. It was a dad's friend. They let us stay in their basement. So we stayed there for a while. My dad was working with someone else's papers, fake papers, right? My dad was there working with someone else's papers. He became that identity, right? And he was that identity for about 3 years, right? I started going to school, right? That's when I moved. We still lived there, but I was going to school 29, right? So we would go to school 29 for a little bit. And then we did that for like 2 years. And then after that second year, I moved from that basement. We've actually found same little studio apartment again that we had, something very similar, but in Patterson, right? So I lived in Patterson. We went to school 7. I went to school 7, and my little brother school 29. Father changed his identity again, right? My father, reason why he changed his identity is because he was getting charged too much to use those papers. Right. So, and the guy he wasn't alive. So it was very risky. Right. So my dad changed his name again. Now, this time it was more consensual. The guy was a junkie. So my dad would be like, he was benefiting off of it because the taxes were coming to him for all the time all the taxes my dad paid into it. And my dad would always cut him, end of the year, cut him a check. Here's some money. Thank you for letting me use it, your papers. So my father started working with his name. My father grew his business with his name and made it elite. This business was insane. He had a construction company that would do all sorts of work, even like through the state, and he was making good money. So at that point, the money that my dad was making, he was investing it and sending it overseas to start a car business. He wanted to import, and I would learn because me and my dad were really close. That's one of the good things is that me and my dad always spent a lot of time together. I always tried to learn everything that I saw that was nice from him. I tried to take that in and try to see, oh, that's cool. I would get involved. I would always be nosy and just check. Every time my dad would come home, he would have money. He would be like, hey, count this up for me. Let me know if I have $100. You know what I mean? And honestly, I feel like those little things that he did in life, it made me realize like how important money really is, right? So him saving money, him putting his money away, opening up his business, he kept it going. And then my father even had his passport. Right? My father was this guy, right? The only thing he didn't do was he didn't burn his fingertips. So one day my dad goes away. At this point, my parents got married, right? My mom got married, right? My parents got married, right?
And she was already married for the papers.
She was already married once.
Right.
Yeah, she was already married once, but the thing is that the guy who she was married with passed away. Right? So the story ended as in like nothing ever happened, right? She got married again, right? And then my father was traveling all over. He was traveling all over. We go to Peru, go to Chile, come back. Just doing his thing, make sure his business over there was running. It was being mentored or being run down by. I have a stepbrother. By my stepbrother. Stepbrother robs my dad, right? My stepbrother starts living a life that doesn't exist. So he starts spending money, making fake sales and taking the money out of the account. And then when my father came that last time, he realized like, dude, the $50,000 that I've sent here never they're not here no more. Like this guy said he sold this car. The first car he bought was a Volkswagen GTI. I remember it was a crash one, and it was outside the house. And he was like, "Oh, dude, the GTI is gone. He had a Ford Focus at the time, gone." So my stepbrother, I was never really close to him, so I don't really there's not really a lot of love for him. All the stuff that he sent was gone. So my father came back, and on his way back, it looked like someone knew who my father was. They detained him. Like, come with me. My father goes to the back, and then they start asking him very specific Puerto Rican questions. Questions like, how do you say quarter in Spanish? Right, so you'd be like, quarter, cota, so you don't really know what to say, you know what I mean? The real word was like peseta. Peseta, that's how you say it. So then they start asking him questions like that.
There's a detail. So the person whose name he was using was Puerto Rican.
Super. Yeah,
That's why.
Yeah, he was Puerto Rican.
So obviously on the passport it said Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
That's why they're asking him these questions.
And the guy who detained him, he was definitely born in Puerto Rico. He knew. So he's like, hey, you grew up this block. You know what I mean? That's like if I ask, hey, you grew up in Patterson on Main Street. You have the church in the corner. Yeah, but yeah. What was left to it? Was there a jail in there? So asking him questions like that. You know what I mean? About the block where he grew up supposedly, and he failed every single one of them. Right, because he'd never been there in his life. He gets detained, back in jail. Right, so now I'm older now. Now I'm in high school. I'm a senior. I'm a senior in high school. Okay.
Pop's locked up again.
And he was like, I saw him he was raised. He was high. He was going up. He was going up the ladder. He was doing great. Like he didn't buy a house, right? But he was doing great. And my mom's freaking out. My mom doesn't know what to do because my mom is scared deep down that she knows she messed up. She knows she got married with with him the second time with my dad, right? And it's fake. So immigration ain't stupid. They're gonna know that they're gonna eventually find this out. They're gonna put two and two together because when the meeting comes up for us to go and go over this wedding, my father can't show up. You know what I mean? So it was only a matter of time.
Yeah. Just to be clear, so what you're saying is they're going to find out that your mom married this false identity, a person with this false identity.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So as quick as you think, a week later, almost like less than 10 days later, we get a letter in the mail. We get three letters, each one to my name, my brother's, and my mom's. Right? So I'm 17 at the time. My mind isn't at, hey, I'm about to get deported. My mind was more on I want to get my driver's license so I can be a normal kid and live a normal life. And I was seeing all my friends at the time. All my friends had driver's license. All my friends had cool, or even if they had hoopties, they had cars, right? I was more scared like, dude, like, what am I doing? So they sent the letter in. We go to the lawyer. Lawyer flips on my mom. Flips and says, listen, I'm going to make sure I do whatever I can to make sure that you get locked up because you promised me and you swore to me that this was legit and you're ruining my reputation as a lawyer just by what you did here. So my mom freaks the hell out, doesn't know what to do, disappears, leaves. She wants to go back. So she starts working on getting everything that she can in a container to ship out. And at the time, I start. I'm about to. Senior's year is almost over at this time, right? And I'm like, damn.
What high school did you go to?
Pacific Valley.
Okay.
Pacific Valley High School. Yeah, we moved from Patterson. My parents got me out of there, and we moved to
Total.
To Midland Park.
Got it.
Yeah, Midland Park, and we were living there for a while. So my mom starts falling behind on the rent. Now, my father, he doesn't have there is no bail no more because they find out he escaped. So now it's legit trying to pay the lawyer to help him sign and help him leave. So time passes by. My mom needs 10 grand, right? Luckily, my dad had probably like 7 in the savings. That's all he had at the time. So we had 7, but normal everyday expenses are accumulating. My mom is working at Sears at the time. She was doing like janitor stuff, cleaning the bathroom and all that good stuff.
The one on 17?
The one on 17 before, yeah, they're let's close down, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that, yeah, before they closed down.
Crazy story. I caught a charge over there, mistaken identity. They said I strong-arm robbed this lady. And because Sears had a camera, that saved my life.
Oh,
totally off topic. That's crazy.
Way,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, right. So my father gets deported again. This is my mom. A guy was able to gather all the money. And what I started doing at the time is I started saving up money by selling my dad's stuff. Okay. So my dad was a construction guy, right? So my dad had a lot of money, a lot of tools. So I kind of got into the game of Craigslist. You familiar with Craigslist?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would sell I was like, yo, I gotta make some extra bucks, because I was so used to like I had to pay for lunch in my high school, right? I had reduced lunch, but I had to pay for it. So I needed every day $6, right? Every day I need $6. So what I started doing is I was, what, if I can make some money, I'll give 80% to my mom and I'll keep 20. You know what I mean? And then this way I have some money in my pocket, so I don't have no money. And I was applying to jobs, but I wouldn't get the jobs. I applied to ShopRite, never got a call. I applied, I was eager, because remember, my parents got married, right? So even though I didn't have papers, when you get married, they sent you a green card that's a temporary green card with a temporary social. So I was able to work temporarily for 6 months or it was a year before it expires. So I applied anywhere possible. ShopRite, no call. I went to the mall. I applied to Abercrombie, no call. I applied to this restaurant. I actually got a call. I was delivering pizzas. I lasted 2 days. I was using my mom's car. I made $40 in like 8 hours. It was no way in hell that was profitable. You know what I mean? So I left. Then I started. So I was like, you know what? Let me just sell. I probably make more money selling my dad's stuff. So I sold my dad's ladder. I sold my dad's like compressor and like all these things that he had. I just didn't know the value of them, but it was kind of like, I honestly was just guessing. I would just guess. So I would be like, oh, compressor, we could do like 60 on this one. And I emptied out my dad's whole garage. I emptied out the whole garage, sold everything. Before my dad left, they gave me, we went to the where he was locked up in. They gave me, this was kind of very personal, and this was for me touching, so that's why I'm sharing it. He gave me his watch and his gold chain, all right? His gold chain at the time. So my father said, listen, he's like, you picked up my gold chain and my watch, right? His watch was a Movado. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. And he's like, because my dad always had his watch, his Movado watch and his gold chain. And that was my dad's things. So my dad goes, the day I see you again, son, give it back to me. So I was like, but for now, hold it. So I was okay. So I kept that. And I was always a reminder, my dad was always with me. So we moved down. We had to leave the house because we were like 6 months behind the apartment. We were 6 months behind on rent. And we moved to the same basement that I came to. The same lady took us back in. But I was having an issue at the house at the time that I would get a very allergic reaction to that environment.
All right, the mold in the basement, maybe?
I think it was mold because it would flood, or maybe she had too many dogs.
Okay.
Because I would start sneezing and I would get these like super red eyes. It was unbearable. So at that time, I had a lot of anger in me. I was very upset. I was a very upset person because I was like, why did this happen to me? Why did I have to? Why couldn't my life be normal? What did I do to deserve all of this? You know what I mean? Like, why is it? Because I felt like I was rock bottom. So that same day, this is one of my biggest regrets. I say one of my biggest regrets. I said, Mom, I can't live here. I'm moving out of here. I talked to one of my friends at the time, and he said, you could stay with me. You could stay with me, and I'm gonna go take him on that offer. I'm gonna stay with him. And my mom was like, no, I can't let you go. You're my son. I want to be with you. And then I remember word for word. Excuse my language, but I told Mom, I was like, Mom, you fucked up my whole life with your poor decisioning, and you brought me rock bottom. And for that, I will never forgive you. Right? I remember saying those words. So,
quick sidebar question. Where's your little brother during all of this? Just with your mom?
He's with my mom, but he's little. He's like little brother. He's 5 years. We're 5 years
Oh,
apart,
okay.
right?
Got it.
He's 12.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Or 11. So he has no choice but to just, follow up. So I say that, I leave. Then I remember coming back, and because I made my mom cry, I came back and I apologized. But the apology isn't really enough, Once you say something really deep, just not enough. So I said, "Listen, Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I should have never said that." So then I remember time went by, and I remember dropping off my mom. I had to go. It was the day came, right? I dreaded this day. It was 3 days before, so I got my first official job, like my real job, the one that made me who I am today. It was at Scrapyard. It was called Sinelli's Iron and Metal. It was in Secaucus, right? But it started in Hackensack, moved to Secaucus. So I went there. I spoke to one of the bosses, and I said, "Hey, I want to work here." And it was recommended by one of my mentors at the time, one guy who I looked up to a lot. His name is Tony De Niro. He was some Italian older guy who opened up a business in a limousine company, and I used to clean his limos. That was my Friday, Saturday, Sunday hustle. I would make $50 every 2 hours, and I would clean the limos. But I really wouldn't go for the money. I would go more to talk to him, because he would teach me a lot about not giving up and keep pushing. And he told me a lot about his personal life and his story and how horrible his upbringing was, that I realized it's like, hey, my time will come. One day my time will come. And
shout out Tony De Niro.
Yeah, Tony, never forget him.
That's a dope name, by the way.
That's a cool ass name. Hell yeah. I try to get my girl to name our kid that. She said nah. But moving down, I used to go. Tony De Niro's Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So he told me about the job. He's like, "Oh, I know somebody. I did their wedding, And I was like, "Okay." So I went in there and I said, "Hey, I want to work here. Recommended by Tony." So then they were like, "Oh, Tony, yeah, he did a wedding. All right, cool, yeah. All right, man, don't worry about it." So just by that, I got a lot of respect in that work field, right? So I went there. They started me off not at a low paid. They started me off at like 15, right? 15 an hour at the time was it was kind of a lot, right? Especially for just scrap work, right?
Talking about early 2000s, right?
Yeah. So 15 was great. Most people there started at 13.
You by this moment, you're done with high school, graduated.
I just graduated. It was the most awkward graduation ever, because most people are thinking about going to college, doing their college applications. I'm doing the college applications, but I know I'm not going anywhere. So I'm doing the college applications just to follow pretty much the role of the normal college life. And because I was embarrassed of everybody else in my grade, they were doing the college applications. And I didn't want to be like the guy, I'm not going to college. You know what I mean? It was a very awkward moment in my life, because my life isn't normal. My life is so different from everybody else's. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to college. So I was captain of my last 2 years at the soccer team for Pacific Valley. I was NJIT. I had an offer from NJIT to go play there, which I couldn't take because I couldn't afford college, and I was illegal, so I wouldn't get financial aid. So I was very real to myself and said, "Hey, listen, I got to work. Soccer is fun, but it's not going to do it right now." So I started working there. They were like, "Listen, you can start on Monday." So I was like, "I can't start tomorrow." And the guy goes, "All right, you can start tomorrow then." So I started. I worked out Friday, and then Sunday was the day to drop off my mom. I had to drop her off at the bus terminal.
She's going back to Chile.
She's going back. She's just going back to Peru this time. She's going back to Peru with my little brother. So I went in there. They had a car. We had a Mazda 3. So, but the thing was like on repo. The thing was supposed to get repoed a long time ago. That thing was eight months on unpaid. You know what I mean? But my dad was like, "Oh, just drive it until it breaks." You know what I mean? So I'm like, "Oh, all right." So I was like, "All right." I was like, "I don't think it's gonna break. I think they're gonna take it." You know what I mean? So I was like, "Whatever." I started driving it. So I drop them off. I remember I take them, drop them off, and to me it was probably the saddest. Like that was the most. I cried. I never cried that much in my life, because it was like it was like a reality check of this is this is your life, and now it's time to grow up. My mom didn't want me to stay. My mom wanted me to go with her, but I told her, I was like, listen, Mom, I got nothing going for me there. I don't know anything about the country. If I'm gonna wing this, stay here and see what happens with my life, I'm gonna fight this case. And if it goes bad, I'll just move to Canada and I'll go to school in Canada. But I need to do this. So with all the, with how hard it was, she let me do it. Dropped him off, freaking balling the whole night. And I was like, all right, I guess this is just my life now. I started working at that place that I was telling you about. So I worked there for a year, put a year worth of time. Was making like $15 an hour. I would work overtime, right? So 40, I would do like 60 hours, 55 hours, right? And then after 6 months, I asked the boss if I could have Thursdays half a day, or not even half a day, but just get out at 5, not overtime, because I started going to school. I started taking one class at Passaic County Community College.
I graduated from there.
Okay. Associates or bachelor? Associates, yeah. So I was trying to get not even an associate's degree. I was just trying to do a couple courses so I could apply, because since I was out of school for so long, I was trying to apply at the City College of New York because they take immigrants there. So I was like, listen, let me try to see if I can go there.
Yeah, our producer Lewis actually went to City College.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's where I was going. So I was playing soccer one time at Turf City, and the coach for the soccer team, his name is Roberto. He saw me playing, and he's like, "Hey, George, you should go." He's the one who told me the game plan on how I can get accepted. So he's like, "You haven't been in school for so long, I can't get you approved with your SATs or whatnot. You have to actually take a couple courses." So he said, "You got to take a math, and you got to take an English course." So I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna take it, but I'm gonna take the English first, and then I'll take the math after, but I can't take them together because I'm working." I said, "Okay, don't worry." So saved up like $15K, right? Like $15K working there. I had no expenses pretty much because I was living rent free, right? My car was, I was still using it. There was no, insurance was past, I haven't paid insurance ever because I couldn't pay insurance. You know what I mean? Insurance, it wasn't under my name. So I was just driving the car. But I would only drive from work and back. And luckily I've never got pulled over. So fast forward, there was I was dating a chick at the time, right? And her mom became like what I call my guardian angel, right? And the reason why I say that is because she said, "Listen, I like you a lot, and I will do whatever I can to make sure we fight this case for you and that you actually stay here." And to this day, I ask myself, why? What did I do to deserve such a nice person in this? She wasn't related to me. She had nothing to do with me. I was dating her daughter at the time. And she went and she's like, "Listen, I got a good friend, a lawyer friend, right? He passed away recently." And he goes, "This is one of my best friends." He goes, he's like, "Let's talk to him." So we go and we talk to the lawyer guy, and the lawyer guy goes to me, "George," his words in print in the back of my head all the time. I never forget him. "George, nice to meet you. I'm sorry to hear about your case, but don't worry, we're gonna find a solution." He goes, "We're gonna find a solution." He goes, and so I asked him. He was like, "Listen, I have an idea of something we can do. I was looking into your case, and I said, okay, what can we do?" And he goes, "We could, since you're abandoned and they left you neglected here in this country, and you have nobody, and you're not 18 yet, we can file a case for you as an abandoned abandoned child, and it's gonna be a little far stretch." He goes, "But there's a chance that it'll go through." He goes, "The hardest part is to get because there's 2 court systems that go through that. So you go to the family court system, and then you have your the regular court system where I have the immigration, where I have the
ICE.
deportation. Yeah, ICE, exactly. So it was like, if we're able to get this through, don't worry about ICE. ICE is easy. That's guaranteed." So I tell him, "Okay," and I was like, "Well, how much do I owe you? How much is it going to be? Just I want to make sure I have enough money to pay you." right? And then he goes, don't worry about the money. He goes like, I don't want to charge you anything. Yeah, and I was like, what do you mean? You're like, nah, I have to pay you something. This can't be free, man. And he goes, no. Listen, there's in life you do a good deed once in a while, and this is my good deed. This is for you. He goes like, the only thing I ask is I want you to make sure that the day this is over, show me that this was worth it. He said, that's all I want. Just show me that this was worth it and that I didn't waste my time. So I was like, all right, cool. At this time, remember, I had nothing. There was nothing going for me. I was still I was still working at that spot. So I said, okay. So I saw him 3 other times. Right, first meeting, we went to the meeting to court. We filed for an extension on the deportation order. They called my mom, my brother at the time. And obviously, they're not there no more. So I went, I signed it. We had an extension for 6 months. So I had 6 months more of life to live here before I have to leave. And I signed it voluntarily that I would leave. So I still started working. I was still working. But to be honest, I hated the job. It was the worst job ever. It was the conditions in there were terrible. It was hot as hell. You had a helmet on, right, with double layer clothing and heavy duty pants and boots, right? And you would have your big heavy duty gloves. And I was an assistant everyone there was illegal. Everyone was working. There were fake papers. It was obvious. It was mostly Ecuadorians, right? So I was the assistant. I was the youngest kid there. So I was the assistant of this older guy who would cut the radiators. He would take out the plastics, and I would take all the aluminums and throw them in dumpsters and organize them to the top. And I learned a lot about recycling, right? And I learned a lot about safety, driving a forklift. I never drove a forklift before, so I learned how to operate a forklift. The shear that I was using to cut, I learned how to work one of those. I learned how to tell the differences between the metals and how expensive they were, it was a good learning experience, but it was a worse job. I also learned that once you work more than 40 hours and you do overtime, it's not worth it, because if you have no kids, they take a lot of money out and you barely see any of the money. So I've noticed that if I worked 40 hours, I would make $1,100 or $990 or something around there. But if I work 60 hours, I would get $1,100. So I was like, what is the point of me working 15, 20 hours if taxes is taking this much money out? So I was like, this is incredible. So I realized like I'd rather have the 15 hours of my life than trade it for extra $100. I'd rather work with Tony for the 4 hours.
Right.
So then I was like, all right, this is not worth it. But they required you to work overtime because their business was profiting. So if not, they would send you home. So I was forced. So I was like, I'm not going to be one of these guys. I can't stay here like them. After 1 year, I will leave. No matter where I am, I will leave. So we went down to try to find the steps were family lawyer and ICE, right? So we went to find a family lawyer. We found this lady who did the whole case for me. And fortunately, the case went great. It got approved like the first day. There was no, we went to court. Everything lined up with the story because pretty much what we had to do in the court, we filed this petition that showed that I was abandoned and that my upbringing was terrible. And everything proved because father was locked up once, locked up twice. Father was in jail the first time for a drug-related case. Mom did something illegal in that aspect. So they just approved it. You know what I mean?
You were like a product of just a messed up circumstance.
A messed up situation. Right. So they approved it. The lawyer just said, okay, no problem. So at the time, I didn't know what it meant, but that lady charged me. She charged me $3,000. Right? So she charged me $3,000. We didn't know her. We were just recommended through somebody. So I paid her $3,000. Then at this point right now, I left. That job. I said I was leaving, and I got approved at CCNY, which is City College of New York. So I started going to school, right? And the guy Roberto helped me get a couple grants so I wouldn't have to pay that much out of pocket. So I could only afford 12 credits, right? I couldn't take 15 or 18 because if you took 12, if you're legal, if you take 12 or you take 18, you pay the same. But if you're illegal, you pay per credit, right? So I was just paying the 12 credits, right? So I was paying like 4,000 a semester. So I used my own money. I had like 15 grand. So I used 4 here. I paid like 2,000 for my papers to start the procedure. I paid another. I lost my car at the time. My car got repoed. Yeah, they took my car one day. I remember. So then I work. I did have to travel by a bus a couple times, and I moved out of that lady's house into one little. I lived with this older grandma who let me rent her little bedroom that she had. It was like $450, right? So I was paying her, and but at this point in my life, I was very still angry and very upset, right? And the reason why was because even though this part came out, I was still scared that nothing was like what's next. You know what I mean? Time is going down so slow, and every time I would go on social media, I would just look at my friends and all my friends. Oh, this guy's playing soccer for his college. Or oh, this guy's cool. He's in Miami for college, and I was like, damn, and I'm here. You know what I mean? So for me, it made me feel like this can't be serious. Then we're in wintertime. It was so cold, and at this point, I did get a little part-time job though. I was working at this place called Bioreference Labs, right? And I was working in the scanning department. I was scanning all the paperwork. I was getting $13 an hour, but part-time. I would do
easier work too, obviously.
Yeah, a lot easier. It was nicer, but it was far because I lived in Harrison. Remember, because I was taking the path to go to the city. So I was taking the bus all the way there. At this time, I wasn't out yet.
Right.
So I would take the bus, and I remember one day it was raining, and I got into the job like nothing. I was doing my thing, and as I'm leaving, it started snowing, and my shift was from 5 to 10. So the buses stopped running. Buses stopped running, and my phone died. Dude, I walked from Bioreference, which is in Elmwood Park, all the way to Harrison. Dude, that was like a 3 or maybe 4 hour walk. I remember I got home like at like almost 2. And then the whole time I was like frozen. I was going to CVS every time I ever see CVS, I go in there, warm up a little bit, come back out. And I remember cursing at the sky. I'm like, yo, this cannot be true. Like, what did I do to deserve this? This is horrible. And I was such a it was dark. It was a bad time. And then I'm like, man, I can't even afford a damn car, man. So I had probably $7,000 left, right, at this time, right. And I was doing I started flipping phones, iPhones, iPads, right, on Craigslist. This was my hobby. So it was because it was pretty much anything. It was everything I knew. So what I started doing is I started realizing that time is more important than what you think. So by that meaning, by saying that, I mean it's not worth to trade 5 hours of your life for $10 an hour if you could probably make it in like an hour just by making 1 or 2 moves. Yeah. So I started buying iPads. I bought one iPad. I tried it out of nowhere. I was kind of scared, but I said, let me give it a go. So I traded. So I bought a $200 iPad 2 at the time. It was 16 gig, just a little something regular, and then I put it up for sale for $240, and it sold. The guy came to my house. It actually came to the job. He came to the job. Instead of going to the bathroom, I would come out, do the deal, come back in, right? So I was like, oh, it's great, $40, awesome. So I started realizing, I was like, yo, this is not bad. This is not bad. A quick $40 here. So I did it a couple more times with iPads, and it was always profitable. If not $25, $75, sometimes $100. But then I was like, there's no supply though, because half of these people are trying to sell it for too much. So what I ended up doing is I made a fake Craigslist ad, right? And in the Craigslist ad, I had selling iPads, selling iPad 2 or 3 for $260, right? And then I would make an ad that would say like buying all iPads for $230 or something like that. So whoever would go on the Craigslist ad would be like, oh, the market is not that high anymore. It's probably $230 is a good price. $230 is a good price. So, dude, I would stack up on like 5, 6, 7. I would stack as many as would come. And through that, I learned like how to check the MEI, make sure it's not stolen. I learned to check them, make sure they're good, they're not counterfeit. And then I even got in contact with a couple of places that had stores that they were just going out of business or upgrading to like the newer gen. So they would sell me batches of 10. And dude, at this point, I made good money. It wasn't like I wasn't making thousands, but within a couple of times, I had 12K. You know what I mean? I had like 12, 11K again. And then I was like, oh, this is great. So I started doing iPhones as well. iPhones were a little bit trickier, a little harder, a little more expensive, but I did a couple. And I would just get by. After making enough money, I bought myself, you familiar with Copart?
No.
Okay, Copart is an insurance place that sells you cars. So that's where if you crash, your car goes either to Copart or IEA, and that's when you're able to buy. That's how I learned that through my father. My father that's when my father used to buy his cars. So I bought myself a BMW 330, right, 2006. It looked clean. Right, it looked nice. So I bought it, but you got to remember that these cars are in this auction because they have issues. They're not there because you're trying to get a good deal. It's not the good deals don't exist. They're there because they're problematic cars. Something happened to the car. Could have been a flood. Could have been someone's project that just did not want to deal with. So I got the car. I remember I turned it on. First drive, hood pops up. Latches are all broken. Right, I'm like, crap. All right, so now I need to buy a hood
and probably
a windshield, right? And I have no money because I spent like $5,000 on this car, and I couldn't spend the 7 because I needed to pay I had $2,000 to pay like the rent for 4 months because that was always my idea. Make sure I could pay rent at least 2-3 months, and then the other 6 that I had there, the other 5. I got to pay tuition next semester, for the springtime. So I'm like, crap, I can't fix this damn car. So I was parked outside I got it towed. I was like, oh crap, man. So I asked my dad, hey dad, where can I get a hood?
So you're talking to him on the phone?
Yeah. I called him, dad, where can I get a hood? And he's like, oh, try this place. They sell hoods. That's where I used to, it's like they sell like aftermarket hoods. So I was like, damn, a hood's $300. Yeah, I was like, okay. So I ended up looking at the headlights I had, right? And I was like, if I sell these headlights, OEM, the original, if I could sell these 2 headlights, I could buy a fake aftermarket headlight in the hood. So it would be like a trade. So I put the 2 headlights on Craigslist. I put them up for $500. And they sold. They sold for $500. So I bought $250 headlights on eBay. And I bought the hood from the other guy for $250, the aftermarket one. That was just primered. And my car was back on the road. Black primered hood with aftermarket headlights, right? So I was like, all right, cut the car again. Took it out. I would take it to go to work. Cool. I felt good. I had BMW. You know what I mean? Like I always wanted a BMW. So I took it out a couple of times, and then the car the third time I took it, it started like you would drive, go 60, and random lights just turn on, like Christmas lights just go on. So I'm like, crap, what the hell is wrong with this thing? This has like issues. So fast forward, I'm like, dude, this car's a lemon. That's why it was at the auction. This car's just beat up. So my dad had a business that he did like that. I was like, yo, dad, I'll sell you this car. Give me $3,000 for it.
So at this point, your dad's back in Peru or Chile?
My dad's in Peru.
And
he has no money though because he just got robbed from his stepson. Yeah, he just got robbed.
But he started a business?
He started import and export business, right? And I would help him from time to time because he helped me a lot. He would help me if I was short on anything, just call him. But the problem was that I had too much pride. Like I felt like I was in this journey alone, right? And the fact that they said, "Yo, you could just stay and just do your thing." I felt like I owed it to them to show that I can do it by myself. that I didn't need help, and so if I needed help, the only time I would ask him for money was for tuition, right? If tuition was the only thing, like the third and my fourth year, I asked him for tuition money. I said, yo, you could help me pay this tuition, because I ran out of money. After I paid for 2 semesters, after that I ran out, right? So then he helped me pay the third and the fourth semester. Then he even paid the fifth and the sixth, right? He helped me out. He helped me out pay it for that. So I felt so bad that I was like, I can't ask him for any more money. Like, he's paying this tuition. He gets paid in different currency. You know what I mean? The dollar's value to the soles is it's night and day. It's times 4. So I'm making him pay times 4. So I would help him whatever I could. So how I would help him is, he was doing this import-export business that he opened up. And I remember me and him were close, very observative on what he did on his business. I would watch him buy crash cars, bring them over there, repair them. And once he would repair them, I would help him buy all the parts. So I would buy all the parts from him on eBay, right? But I would hustle the system on eBay. So he would be like, listen, $80 for the headlight, buy it. So how I would make an extra buck, till this day, I don't know if it was right or wrong, but I did it. He said $80, right? Because that's what the customer paid. So I'm doing this a favor, because he helps me. So I would go and contact the sellers and say, hey, you wouldn't do 65. You know what I mean? So it was only $15, but if we're talking a batch of like $1,000, I made 150. So I started doing that with him, and I would make some extra money like that. Or he would say, hey, the customer is asking me for a Bobcat skid steers. I need you to help me find 3. Any condition, the budget is from here to here. Let me know what you find. So I would actually go and take it serious, and I would go find it. Like, yo, I found 3 in Virginia. And then we would send them the info, send them price. I would make the call, send the prices to my dad. He would send it to his customer, and then usually the sale would go through. They would wire me, the money, and I would go and negotiate the price and buy them. So I would get the money, pay the guy, schedule the pickup, and then he would give me $100. He's like, here's $100 for your time. So then I was like, okay, but it wasn't enough, obviously. But it was just it got me into that thinking. You know what I mean?
Entrepreneur,
that thinking,
that trading time. I can do more than trade my time for money. There's other options. And I want to go back a little bit, right? With everything that happened with your pops, such a crazy story.
Yeah.
Got a kilo as a gift.
Yeah.
And, I used to sell drugs. So around that time, a kilo might have been worth $22,000. Street value. If you just sell it at that, obviously, if you break it down, you could make more money. And your pops wasn't about that life. But it was such a tragic moment, because all he wanted to do was just buy Christmas gifts for his family.
Exactly.
And he ends up in a crazy situation now, right? That affects his family because, with all due respect, by the way, I don't know if it's greed, but he's seen an opportunity for fast money, right? That obviously wasn't legit, but he got desperate. And I ain't judging, because I was in the streets myself, so I totally get it. What makes you so different, though? Because ever since that happened, and you started essentially developed a lawn mowing business. I know that may sound extreme. Basically, you were just mowing the lady's lawn. But you didn't crumble. You didn't succumb to the situation. You stepped up. You're a child at that point, right? When that happened, you were still a child. You stepped up, and you were smart. Like, as I'm listening to everything you're doing, I'm like, yo, this dude is smart. And why I say that is because you see a problem, you come up with a solution. Nobody has to tell you. You're doing this on your own. What's inside of you, bro? Seriously, what's inside of you that makes you so different?
Yeah, that's a deep question, but it it's hard to explain. But when I was going through those battles, a lot of times I had to pick myself up. Right, I had to pick myself up. I was alone. It was a lonely battle that I learned to pick myself up. And I think from just not taking no as an answer and realizing that in life there's always a solution to a problem. There's always, if you have a problem, there's a solution. Even if you can't see it, if you believe in it, you could accomplish anything you want. And I know it sounds like, oh, everyone says that. Dude, if you believe it enough, you could do the unthinkable. That's kind of why when I see people that don't have much or complain that they don't have much, it's an excuse. Because you could get out of any hole that you really want and you believe in yourself. So what I have inside me that I've noticed that, and because I ask myself questions at night sometimes, and I'm like, oh, what? How did I get out of that one? Or how did this one work out? And it was incredible that this happened. So I learned that I have something that is called, I think, it's like relentlessness, right? It's just something inside me that I shoot for a goal and I make sure I accomplish it. And I figure it out on how it's going to get accomplished, but it will get accomplished. And I've been doing that since the day one. And even now that I'm older, I still do it. Like how? I play for this soccer team, right? I play for this soccer team called Ironbound. And my goal is to be number one. To be number one as in like for us to be in the top of the leaderboards, right? So I make sure that I train every morning by myself, take care of my body. I push hard, and that I push to a limit where I could actually help make the team the winning team. I do that with the soccer field, right? Now I have a business. The same thing with the business. If I see the business is struggling, I do something about it. I don't let the business crumble. That means that I go and I put some extra work. I figure out other ways to make the business money. So if my business has to do with car parts, I sell car parts. If car parts is not in the market right now and it's just slow, then we better improvise and start buying new parts and reselling new parts. Or we better go to some shops and ask the shops if they have old parts that they want to sell. I figure out a solution to any problem. It's hard. It's very hard to explain because people ask me, well, "What is it in you?" But it's the fighting. It's the fighting a soul in me.
Yeah, like you don't crumble. Like, and so did the circumstance produce that? It had to be there, because regardless of whether the circumstance produced it or not, it was something that's in you. So what I'm getting at, do you think if you had a comfortable life, a quote unquote normal life, you definitely did far from that, do you think you would still be the same way? Or was it the adversity that created you the way you are?
So it's funny you mentioned that because 2 days ago I was talking to my little brother. We talk from time to time.
He's back in Peru, right?
Yeah, he's back in Peru. Sometimes he comes here. He could come. He comes here from time to time. And I work with he works with me for a little bit. I help him save some money. Then he comes back. But we were talking about he has that inside of him where he's very resentful for his life and the circumstances. He's kind of like the opposite of what I turned out to be. He's just focuses on different things, but he doesn't always have the dog in him. And I have to try to talk to him to try to bring it out. But I was telling him, he's like, oh, my life sucks. This happened, and and like I don't have regular life and all that. And then I'm like, hey, I'm gonna tell you something. And I was like, to be honest, I gave him the whole situation. I talked to him about the whole thing. I was like, I went through this, I went through this, I went through that. But if I had to be honest with you, as horrible as it sounds, yeah, my mom's not here. Yeah, my dad's not here. Yeah, I'm gonna have kids one day, right? And the grandma is not gonna be here. Grandma's somewhere else. Yeah, Christmas time comes around. It's freaking lonely as hell. Thanksgiving time comes around. I freaking hate all the holidays because you're lonely as hell. Every year, you remind yourself, like your parents. I try to see my parents once a year. So hypothetically speaking, if my parents live an extra 20 years, I only see them 20 more times. So yeah, it sucks. But I think to myself, if I've people are formed based on what was given to them. So I think to myself, maybe if it wasn't for all these battles that I went through, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I'm not sure if you ever watch The Flash?
No.
Okay, so The Flash is one of my favorite shows. I used to watch it religiously. And the reason why I like The Flash a lot is because The Flash is the fastest man alive.
Right.
And in the whole time, his mom passed away. And he tries to go back in time to try to save his mom. And he accomplishes it a couple times. But by him saving his mom, he ends up losing his superpower of speed. And then he has to go back in time, someone else in a different world, in a different time period. They have to go back in time, and he tells him, don't save your mom. You know what I mean? Him from a different world it tells him, don't save your mom. And kind of teaches you a value that you are who you are because of what you go through. You know, if someone asks you or asks me, would you change anything about your life or what you've been through? I would say absolutely not. I wouldn't change anything about it. I would go through it all over again because it really formed me. It made me who I am, and it made me value. I value being broke. I know what being broke feels like. So if you see me in the street driving in my Lambo, if you see me in the street driving in any nice car that I have, I don't like. I talk to everybody. I'm not a cocky person. You know, that there's no cockiness in me because I know what it is to be that kid who looked up to somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's such an inspiring story, man. Like, I thought I had it rough. You know what I mean? And no need to get into my story, but I am just so inspired, bro. Like, you took your battles and you became a superhero. I know you used the Flash example. Because even when, I'm listening and it cultivated and developed the mindset, the dog in you, but also the skill set. And I see so many people now, young people, specifically, not just young people, but so many people are battling with motivation, with self-confidence.
Yeah.
What message would you say to them, given everything that you've been through, to maybe assist them to getting over whatever mental slump that they're experiencing? What would you say to those people?
So as far as like mental feeling down or unmotivated, on that aspect, there's a lot to it. Okay. I felt like that for a long time when I'm still, despite everything that I've been through, despite everything that I've done, I've suffered with like the depression. Of course, I think everyone does. But the depression, I've learned something, and Arnold said it. If you think about all the losses and you cry about it, just think about all the times. Let's say your mom passed away. You just get stuck on that, and then let's say you just lose your job and you get stuck on that. You're never gonna get better. My mentality has always been, don't think about all the bad things that has happened to you, but just keep going.
That's why you're depressed. You're feeling whatever it is, but you're not stopping.
You don't stop, because even when I get something nice, I don't even celebrate. But you just keep going, because the moment it has helped me out with my whole life. This is the way I've always been. if when my mom got deported, you know, after that one time that I told you I cried crazy. So once I grew up and I got a little older, I would always cry a lot. I would cry a lot. I would feel like I wanted to cry a lot, but crying is okay. But you got to keep going.
I think
You
that's
know what
the
I mean?
key.
And you got to remember in life that there is two choices all the time. Okay, two choices as in like once I graduated high school, there was the kids that went to college, right? And a lot of them did drugs. I'll be honest with you, I didn't smoke weed till I was like 24. Okay, those couple years, I didn't really let a distraction get into my way. I could have sold drugs. You know what I mean? I could have just stumbled on drugs myself and just did them just to ease down my mood or to make me feel better. You know, I could have been an alcoholic too and say, hey, let me just drink it away and feel better. But I'm a realistic person, and I think to myself, that doesn't really help. It's not going to fix anything. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of distractions in life. So what I would say to the people is cancel out the distractions. Don't think about the distractions and just keep pushing, because everyone has a purpose that eventually you'll realize this is what I was meant to do, and it'll just click. It's one of those things.
So we're going to get into how you develop your $1 million business. What's your why? So I get it. You focus on the right things.
Mm-hmm.
You're relentless. You focus on solutions, problem solving. What fuels that? What's inside of you that you would consider is your purpose or your why that fuels all of that?
So the why isn't money driven. Okay. When I first started the business with my partner,
This is interesting because you drive a Lambo.
yeah, but it's not.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not money driven. So when I first started my business, I didn't think and thought to myself, yo, if I start a business, I'm gonna drive a Lambo. You know what I mean? It's not even that. It's something inside of you that is it's like a satisfaction of accomplishment. You get this feeling that check. You know what I mean? And by that I mean like something as simple as you tie your shoe, done. But it's done. And the feeling that I thought about it, we got this done, it just gives you this satisfying feeling. And it goes more than just a business. It's something as simple as washing your car. You wash your car, you feel happy because you did it. Check. You know, you cut the grass. It was something you set yourself out to do. Check. You know, so for me, it's a more of accomplish a task and fulfill it. That is what kind of drives me to keep going. It's not money. Money comes if you're good at something, but it's more of the accomplishment of you set your mind to do it and it got done.
Yeah, that's fire. So you're goal driven, this whole process, your journey, cultivated an entrepreneur, right? A hustler. What I also see is that even like the uncomfortable situations that you were in with work, you were like, yo, I got to do something about this. You don't say stuck in that. A lot of people say stuck in it, right? So now bring us to the point where you are officially starting your business. Bring us to that point now.
So the business is a good story as well. So there's this kid, right? He's my best friend. He's my business partner. His name is Mark. Okay, that you didn't meet that guy that day because he wasn't there. He was probably on the other side because we have two sides of the building now. We just did a little expansion on that side. But so Mark, I could say, is the brains. Kid is smart, super smart. But the thing about Mark is that he doesn't really talk much. He's very shy. He keeps to himself. And me and him, so I realized growing up with him because I became his boy. I realized that I was like, this kid has good ideas. You just gotta pay attention to him. Just listen to what he has to say, and he has great ideas. So at the time, Mark was a hustler too. He's very similar to me. We're just similar in the business aspect, different people.
You're more social, more
Super. He doesn't say a word. He comes off a lot as oh, he's an ass, you know, or, oh, he's a douche, but he's not like that. He just doesn't talk. But I was his close friend, right? I was a very close friend growing up, but we drifted apart because I moved to Harrison. He lived in Midland Park. So Mark started working with his father. His father has a mechanic shop, right? And he would help out his father a little bit. He would get paid, and he saved up money at the time, and he saved up like 20 grand, and he bought. And one day he says, "Hey George, we haven't talked. We read Snapchat, but we don't really talk." So he Snapchats me and he said, "Hey, come to Route 3. Like, come to Route 3, buy cups at the ice cream store." And I was like, all right. So at this time, I had this was a while back. I had I had the Mazda before I got repoed, right? So I would go to Route 3, check him out. This dude pulls up in E46 M3, Laguna Seca Blue, right? So I'm like, what the hell? The car was so hot. You know, that was like, the car was probably like 6 years old, but that was the color, the nicest car to have, man. And I see him pull up. It was black interior. It was manual. Wow, this dude just like, now I know why he went ghost. This dude was working, saving up his money. So I was like, damn, dude, how the hell you buy that? The car was like 20 grand, 20-something grand. And he goes, oh, dude, I worked with my dad. I saved up the money and I paid it off cash. I was like, damn, dude, it's nice. So he took me for a drive. You know, we went for a little drive. He showed me the car, and I fell in love with it. But I was, in the back of my head, I never thought I would own one. Fast forward in time, I started thinking about building my credit a little bit. So at this point, I went to the immigration, and I got my papers, right? I got my papers now. Everything happened. It's crazy because as weird as this sounds, I had a dream about it. I had a dream about me getting my papers. And I remember going into the place that I went to at the immigration office. And I remember in my dream, I saw the picture of Barack Obama. There was a frame. And I remember the officer. It was a black guy. And I remember shaking his hand. And this whole thing replayed in person when I went to the interview. So I was just like, but till this today, I just don't even know what that was. It was just crazy because I saw this happening already. So we went through it. You know, I got my papers. Everything's good. So I financed myself an Infiniti. I bought an Infiniti G37X 2009, right? And this is right after I saw him pull up in that. So I was like, this is nice. So I financed it. I just said yes to anything. I don't even know what the hell I was signing. I just said yes, right? So I'm paying like $370 something a month. Insurance is like $250, right? So $500 and change. So I was working at the BioReference, so I was legit living paycheck to paycheck. I had to go to work, had to make sure I got the hours in, and everything I would make, pay, right? So Mark one day hits me up, and he goes, "Hey George, you want to take a ride with me?" I said, "Where?" He goes like, there's this guy selling a M3 in PA, and then I'm like, "Oh yeah?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "What's wrong with it?" He goes like, "It has a blown motor, but I want to look at it and I want to see if I want to buy it." So Mark has always been the type of person that, I told you, he has great ideas, but he's not an executor. He'll tell you the idea. He'll be like, "Oh, this is a good idea," and then he won't do it. But it was a great idea. I was like, okay. I was like, "I'll go with you, bro." He said, "Yo, you could do me a favor. You could spot me $1,500. So I'm like, yeah, I got you, bro. Okay. So I didn't even have $1,500. He set this up for us to go at like a Saturday. He called me like on a Thursday. So I was like, all right, I got 3 days to get this money. So I went and I was like, all right, you know what I'm gonna do to get him his money? I'm gonna take a cash advance on the credit card. So I went to took a cash advance on my credit card and I got $1,500 out, right? And I let him borrow it. He's like, "I'll pay you," and I was like, "When are you gonna pay me back?" And he goes, "I'll pay you back." He's like, "As soon as I get it, don't worry, it'll be soon. I'm not gonna take too long." So I said, "Okay." So just because I felt like I was broke, like I had no money, you know what I mean? I only had like $200. So I ended up, I filed for financial aid, right? Financial aid because I had papers. So I took $5,000 from financial aid, but I need it. right? I was getting grants. I wasn't paying much for college. It was barely an expense at that time. I transferred and I was at Rutgers, Newark. So I got $5,000 there. I paid back my credit card. Well, Mark paid me back like 2 weeks after, right? But back to the story, we're going to see the car. We check the car out. Mark showed me the car. We're looking at the car, and then I remember I go in there. The car was clean, dude. Mint car. This car was like immaculate. I don't even know how the motor blew. So kid goes, and then Mark goes, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna buy it." So Mark buys it for $3. Bought the car for $3 with the blown motor. Then we go check it out. Come back. He tows the car. He calls somebody to tow the car for him to his dad's shop, right? And then he's like, and I was like, so let me ask you, why did you want to buy the car? He's like, bro, look at those 2 seats, man. He's like, those 2 seats are mad clean. I want to swap them for my car, and I want to take a steering wheel, and this trim is not bad either. My car could use some couple pieces from it, and make it look nicer. I was like, oh, okay. And then what are you going to do after? He's like, I'm just going to sell the car back, put it back up for $3 or $4 grand and see if I could sell it. I was like, oh, okay. So dude goes, puts the car up on, Mark, my partner, right? Puts the car up on Craigslist. And the people start asking for parts. Someone asked him for the same interior that the beat up one that he had, someone asked him for that. And they were like, oh, I'll give you $1,000 for the interior. And then some other guy, so Mark hits me up and he's like, yo, George, dude, this is a good business. We should do this. He's like, and I was like, deep down, it wasn't that I was scared. It's just that I had no money. Like, where am I going to get the money to start a business with you? I don't even have $1. So at that time, I realized that you can't be scared to what you want. Anything that you believe in, you can't be scared. You got to just go for it. You got to go through it, but you can't go through it half. You got to fully go through it. If you go through it half, it might not come out good. You might not get lucky. So Mark goes, he starts selling parts of it. That car is pretty much done. And then he says, help me find another car and then we'll do it. And I was like, dude, that's no money. And he's like, listen. He goes, Mark goes like this. Listen, you don't even have to put money down. He's like, don't even put money down. Find me the car and we'll do 95.5. That's what he tells me, 95. So I'm like, damn, 5%. Like, I'm back in my head, like, I got nothing to lose, man. I got nothing to lose. Like, I'm not putting anything down anyway. I'm just hanging out with him anyways. So it's like, all right, whatever, we'll do it. So I find the car. Like, it reminded me of my dad days when I used to find him the stuff. So I find him the car, buy the car for $5,000.
It's almost like
it came back.
Right.
It came right back.
It's interesting because it was tragic, sad moments, pain.
Yeah.
Wow. In hindsight, it's almost like you were prepared.
Yeah.
For all of this success that you have acquired. It seems like you've been like that was actually school. It was like part of your business school.
Yeah. It was school. It was that's
the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
Wow. So Mark comes up with the idea to start selling parts.
Yeah.
And then you start finding cars for him.
Yeah, I found the one. Right, I found the one car.
So how and when does it become like an official business? And then how did you scale that into $1 million business?
So that first car that we do, right? Truthfully, I don't know anything about a car when I first started. I didn't even know how to change a tire. I don't know how to. I remember the other time how I market the tools and all that stuff. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just random pricing.
Cost, yeah.
Yeah, I was just random pricing. So I realized that after going out with Mark 2 times, Mark said, George, who's gonna take this car apart? You know what I mean? Because our business at the time was to take the parts out, and we had no time, no place, we didn't know how to do anything. So I said, listen, I'll take care of it.
And even Mark, not to cut you off, you're gonna take care of it, but even Mark, again, right? Hindsight, Mark was being trained by his pops.
He was, in another area.
He was just working for his pops just to make a little money.
Yeah.
But all of this was like school for y'all.
Yeah, it was a school for us. So Mark, I was like, listen, Mark, I'll take care of it. So this is how I can tell you, Mark has great ideas, but I have to execute everything. I make a couple calls and we find a Puerto Rican guy who says, I'll break down the whole car for you for $500. So I was like, all right, cool. Paying him $250 to start. We rent a U-Haul truck. Go with the U-Haul truck. and Mark had set up a couple people from Craigslist that he had posted the car up on, on Craigslist for parts. And dude, it was like 5-6 people that waiting for us to get there, to buy parts. So truthfully, I wasn't really too involved. I didn't really have much of I didn't really know. I didn't believe in him. I'll be honest, I didn't believe in him. I was more like, I like the satisfaction of mission accomplished. I did it. What else you need? Done. You need something else? Done. You know what I mean? I was very goal driven. So he comes out at the end of the day. We start loading up the truck with all the parts in the U-Haul truck. And then he goes, "Hey George, here's your money for today." So he gives me $279 or $270 something bucks. And then I was like, "Damn, that's not bad. All right, $279. I was just hanging out with my boy the whole day, and we got some stuff done." And then he goes to me, which was mind blowing. I was like, "Dude, I didn't put $1 in this. That was 5%." So I started thinking to myself, I'm like, how much money did he make? You know what I mean? This is just the first day that we got the car in. So I was like, so then I got back to after we were leaving. I was like, "Yo, Mark, you know what? Let's do it. We pretty much attacked this niche that didn't exist. Nowadays, if you try to attack it, it's copied so bad.
So you're saying like nowadays it wouldn't be
It would
as profitable?
you wouldn't make as much money. Like I made my money before, not now.
Wow.
Because as hate to say it, but people see me, Mark. People see the success that comes with what we do. So what does anybody else try to do? They try to copy the recipe. You know what I mean? They try to copy the recipe. But with every recipe, you can never replicate it exactly. That's like saying like, "Oh, can you make your mom's rice and beans the same way? Can you, as my mom makes it?" It never be the same, no matter, even if you give the person the right ingredients. There's just something about the hand and the touch. And like, I learned that. That's why I learned you can't hate on someone else for trying to do the same thing you did. You just remind whoever buys from you why you're the best.
So one thing that I study success a lot. It's one of the reasons why this podcast even exists, because I love to learn about success. One thing that I find consistent with people who've made it is a lot of them say like, "Yo, you know what? Not for nothing, luck also played a part." Meaning, opportunity, and they had something, but it was like timing. The timing was just like so essential, right? Would you say that that's also part of your story? Like just the timing, you just got in at the right time. And if so, what about when people say, things are oversaturated, "Oh man, it's too late for me to get in this, that, and the third." What would you say to combat that?
So luck is 100% a part of it. I would say like a 90% of hard work, and there's that 10% luck. There's always that 10% luck. People could say, "No, it's not true. It's all luck," or but I say that if you work hard enough, the luck it comes.
And that's something that's been consistent
and
as well.
It comes.
It's something about like the harder you work. There's actually like, it's like a joke almost. Like the harder you work, the luckier you get.
The luckier you get, and it's true. And to be honest, most people ask me, "Oh, why do you got so many tattoos?" So the reason why I have so many tattoos is because at the time, it was my therapy for the pain that I was feeling. It was I learned that for some reason it was a weird habit, all right, but every painful moment that I had in my life, or when I was starting to feel pain, I would just tattoo myself. I would get something that would kind of balance the pain. So I got a lot of tattoos of stuff that was memorable or that reflected who I was as a person, right? So I had in my ribs, I got Ace of Spades. I got the cards because I know it was some of it was luck. Wow. I got a big line in my back. So I got the line for the same reason, for the line being strong dude. You're a strong dude.
You're definitely strong.
You know what I mean? So a lot of things, going back to that question, and you asked, "Oh, it's luck." Of course it's luck. It has to do with some luck.
So essentially, what would you say it takes to become a successful business person?
Having a business isn't for everybody, okay? There's a couple, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why. So I tried many times because as I was coming up, I kind of lost a lot of my friends. I don't really have a lot of friends. But as I was coming up, there were some couple people that would come up to me and ask me, "Hey, George, how do I make some money?" Or, "Hey, George, is there an idea, a business idea?" And dude, I would try to give them an idea, but no one would ever execute it. And then I had another friend of mine who legit said, "I have $5,000 to invest. I want to do the same thing you're doing, but I don't want to copy you in the sense that because I focus on a fixed niche, right? I don't mess with Audis. I don't mess with any cars but BMWs." So I said, "Listen, I'm gonna find you a car. I'm gonna find you a car, and I guarantee you're gonna make money on the car." So I found them an Audi TT, right? It was crashed. It was offered to me. Audi TT, I got it for him for like $3,800. The motor itself is $4,500. So it was guaranteed money in the bank. You weren't gonna lose. The motor was running drive too. It was a good motor. So I get in the car, and dude, it's been 6 years. The car's still in his backyard. But that goes to show you, it comes from in here.
Wow.
It comes from in here. You can't, no matter what, it's not easy work. Every business is different, right? Every business is very differently ran and has different factors that make it a unique business. But when you first start a business, one of the most important things is advertisement. No one knows who the hell you are. Why should someone buy from you? That's the question you think to yourself. You got to market you got to sell yourself. And I often said to myself, damn, I wish I was a famous soccer player, right? I always wanted to be one. And then I realized to myself, why didn't I make it? Let's say I was good enough to make it, right? It was because you have to sell yourself. You have to market yourself in the right places, and you can't doubt yourself. You have to believe in your craft and what you offer, and you have to be at the top of your game every time, putting in the work, and keep going.
I have two sidebar questions for you. The first one is, this is sort of political, right? With given everything, this climate right now, everything that you went through with immigration, your parents, and let me tell you, I'm a first born generation here. Like, my mother came from Dominican Republic, and she went through the proper channels to be here. And I was born here, right? What's your take, given everything that's going on with the border right now? What's your perspective on that? Totally off subject, not even a business question, but I'm just curious, like, what's your perspective on that?
All right, so
it's a hot topic.
Yeah, it's a hot topic, yeah. So as cruel and as harsh as this sounds, okay? This is just the way I think, okay? I remember, I'm an immigrant too, okay? I came here. I was illegal here. Maybe I didn't come through the border. I came a different way. But I feel like there should be some sort of control where if you have any criminal record at all, you should not be allowed here. You shouldn't be able to come here at all. Like, saying, as cruel as it sounds, does my mom deserve a chance to come back? No. You know what I mean? I hate to say it. No, it's a no, because she has a criminal record. My father, the same thing. I hate to say it, but you got to be realistic to the things that that you do in life and your consequences. So I feel like what's going on right now is terrible, and the reason why I say that is because you grew up in Patterson as well, right?
Indeed,
and I did too. So I used to go to the Peruvian Square. I used to go to the store in the corner and have breakfast there. All the time. I would go because it was a tradition that I did with my dad when I used to work for him. I used to help in construction. I used to do demolition for him. So I used to go there and have breakfast, right? Now, have you gone to Patterson recently? It's terrible.
I've went to Delia's.
Oh, Delius, yeah.
I went there not too long ago.
Yeah, but it's terrible in the sense that if you compare it 10 years today, 10 years to from now or to today,
Absolutely.
it's horrendous, dude. You have these, I've been to Peru before. You have the poorest of the poorest people that lived in Peru. They came here. So they'll sell you candies in the corner, but there's no safety. They'll rob you. They'll rob you. You leave your car parked there, and they'll break your window. And it has happened. So it's like I have that. Like I'm scared to go there because I have all my cars are nice, so I can't even go there because I have nothing I can take that I look normal. You know what I mean?
We can trade cars if you want.
So it's one of those things that it's a terrible thing to happen now, but I think the solution to it, as harsh as it sounds, would be, hey, let's focus on,
Got to vet the people that's coming in.
yeah, let's stop people from coming in. That's the first, right? How do you do it? Who knows, but you have to find a solution how to stop them. Maybe one of the things that I would have stopped a while ago is I would have that anyone coming here, and then because what happens is people come here, they get released, right, and then they have to go through to this trial, but they should stop that. They should stop that. Letting someone come in and get released until the trial happens, like that's kind of what is hurting us. That's what hurted us the most.
Got you. The other question that I have, sidebar, you're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur, but you also mentioned you're a soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
And at one time you were actually the captain, right? Are you still the captain now with the league that you play with?
I'm like somewhat. I just joined that team. Like this is my first season with them.
Okay.
I mean, I wore the captain armband before, but there's a guy who's been there longer than me, so he usually rocks it.
Okay. So my question is, what qualities did you have and do you have that qualified you to become a captain? And what did you learn from that leadership position?
So my position is defense, right? I'm the center back. Center back is the guy who's all the way in the back. It's one of the most underappreciated positions and least glorified positions. But
so even in soccer, you like at the gutter.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst. Why? Because you usually work hard, you put your body on the line for a lot of balls, you tackle hard, you go hard, so you damage yourself, and no one really cares because you're not the guy who's scoring. You know what I mean? You're just there.
You don't have like the glory.
There's no glory on you. So what qualifies me as a captain, or what I see in a captain is, I usually make sure I put the pressure on me. So what that means is, we just had a game and we tied 2-2, right? I take that as a loss and I blame myself. I felt like I played solid, but they scored. So that means I didn't fulfill that mission that I had. My mission was to keep the game 0. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the reason why I like soccer so much is because soccer is like a chess game, in the perspective that you think of what the other guy's going to do and you try to plan ahead to what the other moves are going to happen. So like if a midfielder has the ball and he's swinging it across, I'm trying to read the play, so I set my guys out at the right positions so we won't get scored on. So if they scored on us, that means that I didn't do a good job setting it up. Yeah. You get me? And then I'm the guy who he's there just in case. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Just in case. Yeah. If just in case these two fail, I'm right there. So, you know what I mean?
Well, so what I'm hearing from you is that as a leader, you show up.
You have to show up.
You show up and you go all out and you lead by example, essentially. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Wow, by putting the pressure on you. Wow, and would you say that that's basically your philosophy in life, in business? And how do you manage life and business?
Yeah, so that is the way I go on. That's why I still play soccer. I said it and I say it many times. I always say it to my girl. She goes like, "Oh, why do you care so much?" So I tell her the truth. I'm like, listen, the day I suck or I feel like I'm not there no more and doing my job like that, I walk away.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? You have high standards for yourself.
Absolutely. I broke my foot last year. I came back. I don't brag about myself, but I broke my foot last year. We were in the bottom of the table.
Yeah, no, I
You know what I
appreciate
mean?
that, because like when people are listening to this, they need to see the qualities of what it takes. You know what I mean? Like you're driving a Lambo, right? And I'm only saying that it's a material item, right? But these are people look up to stuff like that.
Of course.
But they need to see like how that came to be. And it came from you being a hard worker, you know, being a person that goes all out, having standards, you're goal oriented. You know what I mean? So you take risks.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah. The idea thing, right? A lot of people have a lot of ideas. Your friend had a lot of ideas. How were you able to discern? You know, because some people fail. Some people have ideas and it doesn't go through. And you mentioned the lack of execution in many of them. But in terms of business, you're obviously business savvy, you know. What makes an idea a good, or let me say this, let's not say good, a profitable idea? Because a lot of ideas are good, but maybe they may not be profitable. So how do you distinguish from a profitable idea and one that's not?
So you have to take chances, right? You have to take a chance because you don't really know the answer if it's going to be a profitable business or if it's just a good idea and it's just not going to work out. So what I would probably say is if you see something that you think might be profitable and you're thinking about it a couple times, I would highly recommend taking a bite at it. But like I mentioned, you got to take a bite at it full on bite. No, we'll work on it Friday, Saturday come, we'll think about it Saturday, Sunday we'll work on it again. Like when you take a bite at something that you want to see if it's going to be profitable, you have to be willing to die for it. So by me saying that is you have to breathe it, you have to think it, and you have to execute it. So when it comes, I relate a lot of my stuff to soccer, but if I want to keep on competing, keep running with these 18, 19-year-old kids, right? I got to breathe it, I got to think about it, and I got to feel it. So in order for me to be there, you got to put in your cardio. You got to put in your cardio every day or at least 5 times a week, right? You have to put in your cardio because it's the same way you want to succeed in that. Everything is the same way. You have to. It's like water. It's like, you know what else I like doing? I like plants. I water my plants every morning. You know, every morning or every 2 days, I water the plants. And then if I don't have time, you figure it out. I bought a timer. Thing sprays it. Waters the plants. You know what I mean? So everything in life is like that. You have to water it. You have to put time into whatever is important to you, because if not, it will fail. Everything in life is like that.
Wow, powerful. And if you can streamline the formula to success, right, of starting a business from no money, you know, even Mark borrowing $1,000 and you got it from your credit card, right? Someone might be looking at this like, man, how do I start a business when I don't have any money? You know, like I have ideas, I got things I want to do, I have grit, I'm willing to work hard, but I just don't have the resources. What would you say to that?
So I kind of never finished that part, but I will finish it now. So I obviously didn't have money, right? I let him borrow money and we started, and then I said, let's do it. Let's do this, start the business. So what I did, right? I ended up, I took out more student loans. I took out $10,000 worth of student loans, right? So I took in 2 semesters, so 5 and 5. So when we first started the business, we started with 3 cars. Okay, that was the three first cars we bought. Just so you have an idea, because I'm gonna give you numbers, so you have an idea of how it worked out. E46 M3 crashed, first one. Okay, that one was like 5,000 to 6,000 at the time. Okay, we bought 2 of those, and then we wanted to try something different that we never did before. You know, right? We bought the newer generation at the time. It was an E92 M3. I bought it, right, and I bought that for like. Honestly, it was bad buy. I overpaid. Bought it for like 15, 16, right?
Don't lose your thought. I appreciate you mentioning that, because I want our audience to know, like, everything wasn't a win either.
No, it wasn't.
You've taken some losses,
yeah,
but you keep going.
Absolutely.
Got it.
So, how did I get the money? Right. First car. I had the money. Right. The first one was me. Me and Mark did half, 50-50. So I had the money from the student loan. The second one, truthfully, me and Mark didn't have the money. Right. We didn't have the money because Mark just bought the car. We just bought this one. He still had money tied up on the first car that he ever did that he was showing me. So the second one, I actually called my dad. Right. And I said, "Hey, Dad, I'll make you a business proposition." And he's like, "What you have?" And I told him, "Let me borrow $5,000, and in a month, I'll give you back 25% with your 5,000. Okay, in a month."
So you got creative with your resources.
Yeah. So I know he had the money, so it was just a matter of him saying yes or no. If he said no, cool. I guess I was gonna ask somebody else, right? He's like, he didn't even question it. He said, "Okay, what you got going on?" And then I told him, "Oh, I'm buying this car. I'm gonna flip it." And he said, "Okay." So he let me borrow the money. He wired it to the IAA. That's where I got the car from. And then the other one, Mark had a friend who was this like rich guy. This guy had money, and he told him the same business proposition. He told him the same thing I told my dad. He told the guy, and the guy said, "Okay." He said, "Oh, okay." He's like, "I'll give you 15." And he said, and I said, and he's like, but we told him since it was on 15 a lot more. So we told him in 2 months we'll give you 5,000 on top. So you got 15, you got 20, right? So he was like, "Okay, cool." Gave Mark the money. By this time we got those 3 cars. We started doing the same thing we did before, but now since my money was in there, I felt the money. I cared a lot more than the first time. Right, so I wanted my money back. I wanted some money, and remember, I bought this Infinity, so now I wasn't working anymore. I quit my job. Now I needed $500, regardless if I was negative or positive. I needed $500 to pay off this damn car. And truthfully, this car started making noises. So I'm like, crap, this car is about to break on me.
So you're going through things.
Yeah. So right now it's rough. I'm living, and I still pay rent. I live in a second bedroom apartment, right, with my roommate. Share, and the business kept going. At the time, the guy who was porting out the cars for me, he started stealing from us. He started stealing parts because what we did to make sure that we were making money, because we didn't know, you know what I mean? We had an Excel. That was Mark's job. Mark's job had an Excel. He would create the Excel, a spreadsheet, which shows all the parts and the price that we sold it for and what we made, right, and all the expenses.
Something else that I hear is you're taking this serious, like it's like professional. And part of our you could say pillars is we highlight also the networking aspect. So you and Mark came together as a team with different skill set, however aligned with the same goal and purpose.
Yeah
And interest.
Yeah, and time and time. I guess how much time he put in is what I put in. Like Saturday, people go out at night and go, have a beer, or have a drink, or whatnot. We spent the whole day from the morning, 11, from like 10 or 11 that we got there, till like 1, 2 in the morning, bringing the van, the U-Haul truck, bringing it to the place in Newark. The place in Newark was the worst place ever. It was you can imagine, Newark, in the hood, next to a car wash, where when it starts, like, once I've gone there enough times, I realized, all right, that's the house that they sold drugs in. That's the prostitution ring over there, because you just know you feel the vibe from being there for so long. And after 6 o'clock, you got to get out of there because it gets so dark, and there was no really any white people there. So, you know what I mean?
And you're sacrificing. It's a Saturday. You're young.
Yeah. Why I want to be there?
And see, and that's why we call this raw success, because I think people have this false expectation of what it takes to be successful, and that's what they need to hear. That on a Saturday night, 2 young men that could be partying, chilling, chasing girls or whatever, they are putting in their work.
You got to put it in.
And this is why you have $1 million business.
That's what it is. And bringing in all those parts, taking them out, doing all that work. After after a certain amount of time of doing that, and remember, I told you, the guy's stealing.
Right.
The guy's stealing, and we catch him. We tell him, "Yeah, you're stealing from us." And the guy goes like, "No, no." And then we called it. Me and Mark called it. Oh, that's the guilt pile, because out of nowhere, the next time we come by, the parts are right there. Once you call them out on it, you know what I mean. So it's not always gonna be great. We made I remember after like a month, maybe close to 2 months, I held my first 10 grand, right? And the money that I made went back in the hole, everything back in, so we did that for a year. I wouldn't spend anything on myself until I had like 30. Once I had 30 grand, I said, all right, it's time. Let me pay this damn Infinity off, sell this junk, and let me try to finance and buy myself an M3 so I can sell. Because after you do this for a couple of times, it's a very exhausting job, by the way. You wanna kind of familiarize yourself better with the car. So if you don't have one, it's hard to sell something you don't have. You know what I mean? So I financed myself one. I found one in PA. I bought that M3, and I realized that by having a car, I've developed and I increased my interest in it, because now it's more personal. Now it's like I'm taking apart these parts that I could use for my own car. So now you get excitement. You start developing this excitement of, oh, that's cool. I have this. And as time went by, I learned how to teach myself how to do these things. Like I can drop off a motor. I never knew how to do that. How do you learn? YouTube.
Two things in that. So you became like that old hair commercial, a client and the owner.
Yeah.
Right. And I appreciate that, because to me, that's like, in business integrity, because now, like I drive these like for real. So there's like almost like a connection to your product and your business, and the second thing that I appreciate about your story that people need to hear is that you're growing. You're learning, you're learning, you're teaching yourself now you're like, okay, how do we take these cars apart? I know nothing about cars, by the way. So there's this aspect of like, you're still growing. You're growing as a businessman. You're teaching yourself stuff, which is also part of the journey, cultivating it. Like even me here, every Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's podcast development day for me. Like I only watch, excuse me, not that I only watch. I make sure that I invest time into becoming a better podcaster. So I'm watching content, YouTube videos.
That's great.
To become a better podcaster. So it's like not settling in what I do. It's like, how can I become better? And essentially you were doing the same thing with your business.
Exactly. You have to be open-minded on everything you do, because when I first started and I had customers coming in, they would ask me, like, I remember this is an example, I use it all the time, but a customer came and said, hey, how much for the Vanos hub? Dude, Vanos hub, I never heard that in my life. I didn't know what a Vanos hub was. So I started like, I kind of panicked for a little bit, because I didn't want to seem like I was not knowledgeable, So what I ended up doing is I said, leave me 1 second. Let me go, let me see what we can do for you, right? So I went to the back. I took my phone out, and I tapped in M3 Vanos hub just to see what it was. You know what I mean? And then I looked it up, and then I used eBay as a reference for pricing.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I was like, hey, I can do $300, right? But this was after we made a mistake and sold somebody else one for $50.
Problem solving.
You know what I mean?
You problem solving, learning.
You learn and you keep it going. It's one of those things that you're never going to be good, but you could become great. And just by going and keep going and keep going.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's a journey. And then after, like I was telling you earlier, so when someone sees me, like let's say I have an employee, right, and he comes in and he's like, damn, how does he have a Lambo, or how does he have this? I put in 12 years. You know what I mean? I put in 12 years of my life doing this. It wasn't given. It was one of those things that you work, and eventually you grow. You grow, but everyone gets a paycheck, right? Everyone gets a paycheck. Your money has to be spent correctly. like I was super hard on myself in the beginning. I didn't spend a lot of money.
Disciplines.
Super hard.
Sacrifice.
I bought myself a house. I thought about life in this way where this business could be profitable in a year, 2 years, 3 years. What if it's not profitable in 8 years? Right? You always think about it because everything is roller coaster. Life is like that. So I bought myself, instead of when I first had this amount of money, I was like, yo, you know what? I could buy myself this nice house, this nice single family house, and live a nice life and have this. But what if I fail tomorrow? I don't think of failure, right? But you have to always imagine that it could happen. When I play soccer, it's the same thing. If I'm always thinking about whoever's playing next to me, what if he has a bad touch? I got to be there. So I'm thinking of the negativeness in a circumstance so it doesn't happen. You prevent it. So I was thinking about, what if I fail tomorrow or my business goes down? It's not under my control. It happens. So I bought myself a 2-family house, right? I bought myself a 2-family house. And I live downstairs and I rent upstairs. So I was only paying $500 of rent. So I was like, hey, you know what? This is great. It looks a crappy house. I'll fix it up a little bit. And in case something ever happens, it's right there. You know what I mean? So I thought about that, did it 2 times, bought another house, another 2-family house after I saved up enough money, and I did the same thing. I rented it out. So then I bought my regular house a couple of years, 2 years later, and then this is where you have a chain of, you control your success, you control your failure, because if, let's say, the business dies, I have my money from my house and they're going to help me out.
Wow, you developed other streams of income.
Yes.
To replace it.
In case.
So the problem solving that you've been doing since mowing the lawn, it's become so a part of you that even when the problem is not there, you think about it and create a solution before it even exists.
Then you can't lose.
Now, you've been moving. It's obvious, bro. Like, you're a smart person because of how you think. You're a strategist. You plan. Do you read books? How do you develop your mind?
So, towards the end of my business, or towards the end of once I have my whole thing established and everything was good, I used to get anxiety bad. All right, I used to suffer from it. I don't know why. I don't know what caused it. I think it might have been the first time I smoked weed. It just probably it opened up. And I smoke once a year, right? But I think it opened up, so I used to get anxiety. So I did start reading books a little bit because I realized that reading relaxes your brain. But truthfully, how I relax is I work out. I work out heavy, and I by putting in work and sweating out a lot, my brain just it relaxes. But usually when I'm driving, I'm always thinking. Yeah. You know what I mean? I put music on, but truthfully, I'm thinking about the day. I'm thinking about how to
self-reflecting.
Yeah. How can I improve? How can this become better? So I don't really read much. It's more of I kind of like talk to myself in my brain a lot.
Yeah. What's the most important lesson that you've learned about life?
That's deep. I guess my thing has always been, don't give up. Yeah, don't give up. That's one of those things that I hope when I have my kids, I hope that they learn that about me. Like, they're like, oh, Dad just never gives up.
Perfect segue to my final question. What would you like your legacy to be?
All right. So as I was getting older, I asked myself, do I want kids? And my answer was yes, I do want kids. But one thing is, I don't want my kid to be spoiled. I want my kid to grow and be something similar to me, to know that things in life aren't given. You have to work for them. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to train him, because I have a boy coming in March. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to train my boy to learn that life isn't given, and opportunities you have to seize. But I don't know how I'm going to do it, because I've noticed that, and I grew up in a pretty wealthy neighborhood, most people that had everything given just have nothing. They have no, there's no, they have nothing, they didn't really succeed. And I feel like if you want to be different and you want to succeed, take it top next level, you need to suffer. Suffering is good for yourself if you want to become elite.
Powerful. Tell the people where they could find you and how they can support your business.
So you could find me at MParts Worldwide. That's my business. It's in Midland Park, 220 Bank Street. Support me. You could just follow me, like the pictures whenever we post. We post a video 2-3 times a week. Every day we post pictures. Even if you don't own a BMW, it's nice to see. My business started with 1 follower and now it has almost 50K. Thank you.
Powerful, man. Listen, if you found value in this man's inspiring story about how he turned adversity into opportunity, and you think that that story and the messages of wisdom and perseverance and success can assist and empower someone else, share this episode with them. Jorge, thank you so much for being vulnerable and honest and authentic about your story. I'm empowered. I'm inspired. So I appreciate your time, my brother.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, True.
Peace.